Hey! Join me while I set lights and renders to wrap up my Dagger. Alrighty-o, welcome everyone to the final working session of the Caynfurtian Ceremonial Dagger. Episode 7, Lighting and Rendering. Finally. Here we are, lads. We are at the very last episode. There will be one more upload on the Caynfurtian Ceremonial Dagger, but it will be the final showcase. We're starting off in Maya. As I said, I was going to do a unique setup for the final renders, and I'm starting off with posing the Dagger for what's going to be like the secondary main shot, the main thumbnail one. The one you are likely to see when you visit my portfolio I'm going to be setting up later. But this first one is just a posing, a laying out of the Dagger proper. As you can see, I am using a plane that it's ultimately going to be, pretty much useless. I'm not going to render with the plane in the background. I just thought it was ineffective at the end. So yeah, the Dagger has been laid out as if it was like on a desk, on a table, and I'm starting to create lights. This is obviously going to follow the principles of the 3-point lighting, you know, the rim at the back, the main and the fill. And this one I'm doing is not exactly neither of one. I am actually going to do like 4-point lighting. I'm adding one extra to that mix, and this first one I'm doing, that's hitting the Dagger from the left side of the render, is going to be a sort of bottom fill. As I said, this is not exactly textbook 3-point lighting, but it's gonna be nice at the end, I think. And the main gist of this is balancing cold and warm lights to this, so the render looks balanced. And this first one, as you're already seeing, is cold light. For this, I like to rely on Arnold's color temperature for the lights. As you see at the right top-ish right, you have the color temperature slider, which allows you to make cold light, which is like a very light blue, or warm light that goes all the way to red. This first one, as you see, is very light blue. The second one is a little bit orangey, and the third one, which is the one I'm selecting exactly there, is also orangey. That's gonna be the balance I find here. And another tip, I guess, is, as I'm gonna be doing shortly, is to isolate a single light to make sure you're content, you're satisfied with how each light is contributing to the final look. Exactly there. I am shutting off the other two lights to make sure each one does what I want it to do. And yeah, the second cold light hitting the Dagger from the top of the render. I'm balancing the exposure, the shape, the intensity, and that's a balancing act, really. You just don't really know how I just know I just know by practice and by studying renders and photography. I think I can just go by my gut to tell what looks good. So yeah, this is mostly practice and being familiar with your render engine, which I very much am with Arnold. I have been using it for 4 years, and now I added the rim light, the one at the back, to outline the prop or the model from the back. There it is. And here I am deciding I want some general lighting. I added a skylight that is giving a very dim light, not very really noticeable, but it's giving some light that's gonna allow me to lighten up the model. Quite redundantly, but yeah. And the trick is I made this skylight invisible to the camera so that I can render with transparent background to not have the color in the background. Now I'm just adding a little support light to the center medallion to make sure it looks lightened up like I wanted it to do, to make sure it pops out to the view. And there, I think the lighting wise and camera wise, this render is finished. Now here I'm just diving back quickly into Substance because I realized I had that little quirk in the scabbard at the very top. I had some black metal on top of gold, which is no-no. And as I was already tinkering, I realized the pommel medallion needed to be all gold, going like all around it. And it had a stripe of black metal, so I changed that and changed some of the, as you can see there, other materials in the pommel medallion. And that's it. That's the extent of this Substance redive, and pretty simple, just minor fixes. And we're gonna be headed back to Arnold soon enough to set up the thumbnail shot, the actual portfolio shot. By the way, can't you tell me this is the coolest wallpaper you've ever seen? That Batman animated series wallpaper I found on Wallpaper Engine is diabolical. It's perfect. I love it. But yeah, here we are in... Oh no, we're not setting the thumbnail shot just yet. I am laying out the scabbard as well, because I realized since it's being like laid out in a table like for show, the scabbard could and should be separated from the dagger, and so I can, you know, lay them out in a more interesting way. To make sure like the dagger is laying on top of the scabbard, that they're interacting with each other in that way. So I did that, just that, as you can see, and that's the main secondary shot. I was talking to you about it earlier. This is it. This is the final version of it without the plane. There you go. That's exactly it. And once I'm satisfied with how it looks, I will move on. The renders I did off camera once I stopped working, because they were gonna take a while. I think these took like without the background, which is I wasn't familiar with how much faster it is, but they took like 5 minutes, so I figured I could do it just out of recording. And here I am returning the dagger and the scabbard to their original positions to re-render with the camera shots I have been setting, and to, as you're gonna see exactly there, set up the main thumbnail shot I was talking to you about. This is it. I'm tinkering with angles, shapes, how I want. I know I want it to be a square because ArtStation thumbnails are square, so I'm adjusting. I'm trying to find a camera angle and a shot that best suits having a square render. And I think, well, I do believe I tinker a bit with this specific idea, but by now I like that one, and I'm just going to start creating a new lighting setup for this. The rim at the start, as you can see, that's the rim light. There I am adding the fill, and this is a traditional 3-point lighting. It's just the rim, this is the fill, and the main is going to be the warm one. Or, well, yeah, practically, yeah, I guess you can tell. I guess you can say this is the warm is the fill and the cold is the main. They are quite equal, I think. I don't really have like a proper main and fill. I guess I could have done something more orthodox in that sense, but I thought it looked good. Yeah, I'd say that's the main. The warm light is the main, and the cold light is the fill. That's how I explain this 3-point lighting setup I did for the thumbnail shot, which is also going to be rendered with a transparent background, so that I can add a background in Photoshop, as I've been doing for every other thumbnail in the series, in the Sessions series. Which, by the way, I believe I said it earlier, but this is the last one. This is the 7th and last session episode. The next upload is going to be showing and, you know, merging together the renders and the turntable. I don't think I'm going to be able to include the little animation, or maybe if I do, it's going to take a little longer, because the animation is going to take a while. At least like a couple of days of rendering. so that might delay it. I figure I might just delay it to include the animation and the turntables and such. But the ArtStation post can go up without that animation. I can just add it later. The renders and the turntables, I think, are enough material to showcase in a first instance of an upload. So that's gonna be it. And here I am just rechecking that the previous render setups look cool. They did. And now Marmoset. Marmoset is a really short venture where we just open, create a new scene, import the Dagger, connect the materials, and recreate a simple 3-point lighting like the one we did for the main shots. That's the rim light, that's the camera that I'm gonna be using for the turntable. Next is the fail on the main, which I think I did exactly the same like for the main shot. The fail cold light coming from the right and the main warm light coming from the left. I think that it's exactly what I did here too. So pretty simple, just adding lights, aiming them properly, giving them the right color tones, which is a little bit harder here than in Arnold because you don't have the color temperature scale to make it easier for you to find the right tones. I already know which ones are my preferred ones, whereas here I have to tinker a bit. I do have some like baseline values in a note sheet for somewhere around here on my PC, but I do have to tinker a bit. And now here I'm just setting the background because this will be rendered with a background, just a flat gray or a little bit of a gradient from white to black, using the grayscale to have a neat background, I'd say. And I'm separating the scabbard for the thumbnail, for the turntable, adjusting the background, just some general tinkering, adjusting of things. And here I'm just verifying that when the camera turns, the asset, the prop, doesn't rotate outside of the frame, which it does, and I will fix soon enough. There are some angles because of how the center of the turntable, like the very center of the orbit of the turntable, is created when you split the assets like that. You do need to tinker a bit like that. There's the edge of the guard getting too close to the edge of the frame, so move it a little bit so it's safer within the rotation. I think that was it. Now here, saving the scene, obviously, because now I've done it, I wouldn't like it to be lost because I didn't save. Now here I am adding a gray material, which I will be supplementing with my normal map, my ambient occlusion map, and my curvature map. I have a custom Substance Painter export setting that gives me ambient occlusion and curvature to use here in Marmoset. They look nice, don't they? Especially the curvature gives this little gray scale, texture to the model, and the ambient occlusion allows you to more properly bring out the shadows, which is exactly what it does. And that's it for Marmoset, I think. Here I am just returning to Arnold to set the final render settings for the engine and the anti-alias passes and all of that. And here I found a little wrinkle in the model. I still don't know what was that. Tell me guys in the comments if you know why that thing happens. But it's this thing that you're seeing in the render in the left side of the guard, that some faces look like they're missing, or like some triangles are being displayed in a different color. I don't know why that happens. I realized by experimenting that some of the, especially the main light, the warm light, if I rotated it, those triangles went away. But as you can see, I'm returning to Substance to see if that was present there. It isn't. So I don't know why that would be. But yeah, I did scratch my head a bit with that. I struggled to realize why that was happening. But in the end, I did keep it. It's quite small in the thumbnail shot. You don't really notice it unless you know where to look for it. So I kept it. I guess I can just delete it in post-production, like very softly brush it off in Photoshop, so that it doesn't look so that it isn't there, so that you can see that artifact in the render. But yeah, if you know what that would happen, do let me know in the comments. I don't know why. I still don't know why that happened. But yeah, this is it, lads. This is just me tinkering with the lights and camera angles to see if I can fix that. So this is the end of the model. This is the end of the working session series, lads. I have some like couple of minutes of the recording to talk over still. So let's make the most of them, shall we? I enjoy doing this. This has been a nice project to undertake. Having a prop like this, which is well within my style and my capabilities to get myself back into the 3D workflow, it's nice, and I can mix it with YouTube by creating this kind of content for you. So you, as I've said earlier, this is not exactly a tutorial or a guide exactly, because I don't stop to explain things often. But that's not the intention. This is more like demonstrative, like a demo of workflow and ultimately, well, my skills. The showcases are coming. The Williams Quest showcases will come shortly. Like maybe next week I will have the first one, and there I will stop a little bit to explain things, to talk to you guys about how I did pretty much everything for the project. The project is done. What I'm going to show you is functionally done, but I will talk about what I can improve upon if I were to redo the projects, the characters, the props, or for later ones. There is definitely room for improvement, and I have analyzed it. I'm aware of some things, but if you guys can tell me in the comments, it's obviously well received. And well, yeah, hope you like the series. Let me know what you thought of it. Don't expect the final upload of the Caynfurtian Ceremonial Dagger, like the proper showcase, too soon. I will be showing you here, guys, the turntables I created in Marmoset, and yeah, the final tally of working hours, I think averages at like 12 and a half. Yeah, like 12 and a half hours. Let's just say 13 hours of active working time. The renders, they could have taken in total like another, let's say, half an hour. These were a lot quicker because I rendered without background, which, well, who knew? That does help a lot. And the turntables were like the gray material one took around 2 hours, and the color one, let me see, I'm checking here. The color one took a little over 2 hours each. So yeah, like 4 hours and a half of rendering so far. I'm gonna have to add the animation render times to that at the end. But yeah, nice project. A nice quick project. I could have done it a lot faster if I worked only on this, but as you know, this channel does have some variety. I will be jumping back to covering Civ 7, Civ 6, and with another episode of Meet Your Leaders, which is a series I started and haven't worked on for the last week because I wanted to wrap this up. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a break of 3D production, but not entirely of 3D in general. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Follow me everywhere on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, ArtStation, and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell, leave a like, let me know what you thought of the project. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.